My name is Charlotte Bumgarner, and I started getting into music when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I was in a choir as a kid, and I just loved to sing. And then that progressed to me taking violin lessons. That was my first instrument, and then I started taking piano lessons and guitar finally when I was 12.
Hi, I'm Jade Belauste. I'm a singer. I play the guitar, a little bit of the piano, and I'm in a band called Love You Too. Mom framed this in first grade, I think. We had to do a little picture. It was when I have a strong feeling, blank helps me calm down. This is my brother playing video games, and my other brother playing video games, and my parents cheering me on, and my karaoke machine. And then obviously a disco ball.
I'm Lex. I am an indie pop artist from Tulsa, and I started doing music when I was 15 or so, because I taught myself how to play guitar and grew up in church, so started playing in church. And so once I started playing shows, I would just connect with people and more female musicians. I write all of my songs, and then my band, usually we all collaborate production wise, but I do all the songwriting. I definitely write most of my songs about past experiences, because it's kind of therapy for me. I just kind of feel drawn to a certain story growing up as a kid, and kind of just write how I feel about it and come up with guitar usually later. And sometimes I finish a song in 20 minutes, or sometimes it takes 3 months. Creating music is kind of a release, especially when I write these emotional songs or songs about childhood trauma. It's kind of letting it out. When people listen to it and connect with it, it kind of makes me feel less crazy. I think the biggest thing for me is just connecting with people.
The songwriting process is different every time. So sometimes I sit down with the intention of writing a song and make myself play guitar until I come up with a melody. So I write lyrics all the time. If I think of something, I just write it down. Sometimes I go back and it's horrible, and sometimes it's good, so I just kind of pull from there. My favorite part is the excitement after you just, right after you just wrote a song and you're proud of it. It's different every time. I have songs that I've written in 30 minutes. That's probably the quickest I've ever written a song. And then I have songs that take months. I just take breaks on them, or I get kind of lost on where I'm going with it, and I'll just return to it a few months later and see what I think. I'm on a DIY label outside of Kansas City, and when they reached out to me wanting to sign me, that was a big moment, and they have booked me a lot of cool shows since then. And I feel more recently, when I opened for Howdy in Oklahoma City, that has kind of that was really surreal, because I loved that band since I was a teenager, and I was so obsessed with them. And now we're good friends, and they're working on my record. It's just it's very weird to have that transition. And the people they've introduced me to has opened up a whole new world. So I think just shooting my shot to try and open for people, and them seeing me as a legit artist and saying yes is probably the biggest moment.
So I actually have gone many different ways. I used to just think I had to write verse, chorus, verse, so calculated. And recently on a track that we just did, actually, I started reading off a creative writing that I did. There was no flow to it. There was no structure. I just read the words off, and it ended up being one of my favorite ones I've ever done. So up until recently, I think I just was so calculated and analytical about it, when in reality I just needed to express myself. And also thinking like, oh, like I need to be so good at it, when in reality I have to just figure out what works for me. And also like I can't replicate like other people. So I think like songwriting to me has really just come from like learning about what I'm feeling. That's the hardest part about songwriting. It's being vulnerable with myself. Having to put on paper like and truly accept like this is how I'm feeling, and I have the choice of sharing that or not. I want to make sure that like it's been me. I was unapologetically me, but at the same time I was the most sensitive person you ever met. And then I realized like, how am I ever gonna create art? How am I ever gonna like live my life if I'm worried about people who I don't even care about? I'm always just gonna be doing Jade.
My experience in the Tulsa music scene has changed drastically in the last like year, because honestly, when I first started, like I did not feel like accepted or cool or like that I was good at what I was doing. And I kind of feel like that put a huge like insecurity on what I do in a way, because when I was 15, it was like everyone's obsessed with like these boy bands, the local like boy bands. People just look at boys that play music and they're like obsessed, even if they're like horrible. Whenever I play acoustic shows, people just don't care sometimes, like talk over you and like laugh over you and stuff. And that just makes you feel so bad like while you're performing. Post-COVID, I feel like there's so many nonprofits and like events that everyone's like supporting everyone now, but it's a lot different because I still feel like there's that like gap there. It's like if you're cool and if you've done something cool, you're like up here, so everyone's like wanting to be your friend. If you have done anything cool, or like if you're friends with certain people, people will like anything you do. But it's like those people that didn't like what I did back then are now like, oh my god, like you're so cool, or like your music is so good. And I'm like, I've literally known you for like 6 years and you've never spoke to me ever. I will say like I didn't have an issue with men as much as I do now, but it's like you can definitely tell when someone's being like a little creepy. Like, do you like my music, or are you just trying to like be flirty or something with me right now? But there's also the side where it's like so competitive, and they're so like, they have this like masculinity thing about them that's just like toxic. There's some guys who will just talk crap on like every Tulsa musician except for themselves. Even my guy friends in my band, it took me forever to like actually trust them because of the other experiences I've had with working with people.
My experience as a woman in the Tulsa music scene has been both good and bad. I think I have met a lot of other amazing women who have made me feel less alone, and really like I have people to lean on. And then I've also just experienced a lot of blatant misogyny from other musicians and every sound guy in the world, and like so many different people booking shows. I just think that they have a hard time taking me seriously or like treating me the same as other male musicians. And anytime I've played kind of like with my boyfriend backing me up, or just any type of man playing with me, it feels like the sound guy goes and talks to him instead of me. They just assume that I don't know anything before they even talk to me. So that's frustrating. I think that men treat female artists so much differently when it comes to like greeting you after a show. I'm able to see directly compare how people talk to me after a show versus how people talk to my boyfriend and his bandmates in their band after a show. And it feels like women are often called like divas or like a bitch or something because we're not like so giving of our time, when I already feel like I'm so much more giving than I should be. If someone buys my merch or says something nice about my set, they sometimes think they deserve to have like a 45-minute conversation with me when I'm trying to do a million things, I'm trying to load out. I see a lot of male musicians kind of being like, thanks, and nobody else would expect to just like corner them for an hour. I just don't see men doing that to other male musicians. It just happens with women. And also like people coming up to me and being like giving me suggestions or like notes of a set, or kind of saying like, oh, you should have a band, or people will corner me for an hour just to talk about themselves. It's not like they're sitting there telling me how much they love my music. Like it starts like that, and then it's like them talking about themselves, which is so funny.
I just think it's funny that men are gonna be the ones who have like shit on me the most, or like giving me the most backlash and like hate comments, and like I just have never received that from like a female, because even though like in reality, like if I'm gonna compete against anybody, I'm gonna be competing next to the female. My own like drama and personal whatever problems, and like the music has been with like men having their opinions and expressing that and causing me to be like left out. I just slipped through the cracks because I let like that get to me. I think the male dominant like music scene here definitely affects like the safety a lot of like women feel. I remember specifically people would like DM me, and I'm super vulnerable, I'm trying to get back into music. He DM'd me, he was like, I'm a producer, like, you know, you want to come over, we can like work on something, and like I'm naive, he seems young, he seems cool, and I go over and the first thing he wants to do is fuck. I just remember first of all feeling so scared, and then second of all I'm just pissed out of my mind because I'm like, of course. I had people just wanting to collab, and it was fake. They just wanted to hook up over and over and over again. It's the same people controlling the same events here in Tulsa, and I'm not there yet. I haven't done my promotional for my album and stuff, but like it's gonna come soon, and I'm sure I'll have a completely different answer when I'm in it and I see who the real problems are in Tulsa.
In 10 years from now, I think Tulsa, I feel like it could be one of two things. It could be the exact same, or maybe it's becoming a little like a smaller Austin or something.
I hope that it has opened up a bit more and is kind of giving equal love to all genres, and artists are getting paid better, venues are staying, like DIY smaller venues are staying open longer.
I honestly hope that through my career too, like being from Tulsa will help me and also be the thing that, I don't know, sets me apart.
I lost the question. What was the question?
1 second, fuck.